Something unusual just happened in Ottawa. It didn't look like a crisis. There were no dramatic speeches, no breaking news chaos. Instead, it happened quietly. A single move inside Canada's parliament may have shifted the political balance of the entire country. And while the world was focused on daily headlines and political noise, a much bigger story was unfolding behind the scenes. Because in politics, power doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it arrives with a single seat, and right now, Canada's government is only 2 seats away from something that could reshape its political future for years. To understand why this moment matters, you have to understand how Canada's political system normally works. Canada has 343 seats in its House of Commons. To form a majority government, a party needs 172 seats. But Canada rarely produces majority governments anymore. Instead, the country often runs on minority governments. That means the ruling party must negotiate constantly. Every bill requires cooperation. Every budget needs support from other parties. Debates are intense. Votes are unpredictable. This system slows everything down, and for decades, that's exactly how Canadian democracy has operated. Messy, frustrating, but balanced. Then something happened this week that changed the numbers. A member of Parliament named Lori Idlout, who represents Nunavut, crossed the floor of Parliament and joined the Liberal Party. Floor crossings are rare, but not unheard of. What made this one significant is that it wasn't the first. Over the past several months, multiple opposition members have switched sides. Each move slightly strengthened the government, and each move brought the ruling party closer to the majority threshold. 1 defection may be random. 2 could be coincidence. But several in a short period of time begins to look like strategy. Nunavut is one of the most remote regions on Earth. It stretches across a massive portion of Canada's Arctic. The territory contains enormous natural resources. Oil, natural gas, rare earth, minerals. But the real importance of Nunavut may lie in something else entirely. The Arctic shipping routes. As global temperatures rise and sea ice melts, new passages through the Arctic are becoming possible. One of the most famous is the Northwest Passage. If fully accessible, it could dramatically shorten shipping routes between Europe and Asia, which means control of the Arctic is becoming a major geopolitical issue. After the recent floor crossing, the numbers inside Parliament changed again. The Liberal government now sits extremely close to the majority threshold, just 2 seats away, and that's where the next political moment comes in. Upcoming by-elections could determine whether the government crosses that line. If it does, the entire balance of Canadian politics shifts overnight, because a majority government changes everything. In a minority government, power is limited. Every major decision requires negotiation. Opposition parties can block legislation. Votes can fail. But with a majority government, those obstacles disappear. A majority allows the government to pass laws quickly. Budgets move faster. Policies can be implemented without relying on other parties. It creates stability, but it also concentrates political power. And that's why even a small shift in seat numbers can have huge consequences. Canada and the United States share one of the largest economic relationships in the world. Every day, billions of dollars in goods cross the border. Energy pipelines, auto parts, agricultural products, manufacturing supply chains. Decisions made in Ottawa don't stay in Ottawa. They ripple through factories, fuel markets, and industries across North America, which means political shifts inside Canada can affect far more than Canadian politics. Right now, Canada's government stands just a few seats away from a majority. The upcoming elections could determine whether that happens. And if it does, the country could enter a very different political era. But the real story might not just be about numbers in Parliament. It might be about how Canada is positioning itself in a changing world. And that story becomes much bigger.
Canada's economy is deeply tied to the United States. The 2 countries are each other's largest trading partners. Canadian energy flows south. American goods flow north. Manufacturing supply chains cross the border constantly. But political leaders in Canada have also discussed the need to diversify trade relationships. That means expanding economic partnerships with Europe and Asia. A majority government could move faster on those strategies. Energy is one of the biggest pieces of this puzzle. Canada holds enormous oil and natural gas reserves. Much of that energy currently flows to the United States. But there have long been discussions about building infrastructure to ship energy west to Pacific ports. From there, exports could reach Asian markets. Projects like pipelines and terminals often move slowly through political systems. But majority governments can accelerate decisions. Another area gaining attention is the Arctic. As polar, icy recedes, the region is becoming more strategically important. Countries, including Russia, China, and the United States, are increasing their interest in Arctic routes and resources. Canada has begun discussing expanded northern infrastructure. That includes ports, icebreakers, and surveillance systems. A majority government could accelerate those investments. Supporters of majority governments argue they provide stability. Policies can move forward without constant political bargaining. Long-term projects become easier to plan. But critics raise a different concern. When one party controls parliament, there are fewer checks on its power. That's why majority governments can sometimes become controversial. The balance between efficiency and oversight is always part of the debate. If Canada moves into a majority government, several different paths are possible. One possibility is stability. Canada strengthens its economy